Every single morning of your life, before the world touches you, before your phone distracts you, before the noise of the day begins, there is a moment, a small, powerful moment, where you decide what kind of day you are going to live. And most people waste it. They wake up tired, they check their phone, they remember their problems, and before they even get out of bed, their mind has already programmed the entire day for stress, frustration, and mediocrity. But I learned something many years ago that changed my life completely. The first thing you say to your mind in the morning determines the direction of your entire day. Not the weather, not the news, not your boss, not the economy, your thoughts. And today I want to show you exactly what I say to myself every morning, the words that program my mind for success, confidence, and momentum. But before we go deeper, I want to ask you something. When you wake up in the morning, what is the very first thought that enters your mind? Is it stress? Is it excitement? Is it worry? Or is it possibility? Write your answer in the comments below. I always find it fascinating to see how people start their day. Now let me tell you something extremely important about your mind. Your brain is like a supercomputer, and the thoughts you feed it first thing in the morning are the commands it begins executing for the rest of the day. Psychologists call this cognitive priming. Whatever idea you introduce to your mind first becomes the lens through which you interpret everything that happens afterward. If you wake up thinking, today is going to be difficult, your brain will start scanning for proof. Traffic will feel worse. People will seem more annoying. Problems will feel bigger. But if you wake up and say something completely different, something powerful, something intentional, your brain begins searching for opportunities instead of obstacles. And this is not motivational talk. This is neuroscience. Your brain has something called the reticular activating system. This system filters millions of pieces of information every second and decides what is important. And here is the key. It prioritizes whatever you tell it to prioritize. Let me give you an example. Have you ever thought about buying a certain car and suddenly you start seeing that exact car everywhere? The car was always there, but now your brain is looking for it. Your morning thoughts work exactly the same way. So if you wake up and tell your mind the right message, your brain begins scanning the entire day for proof that this message is true. And this is where most people miss the opportunity of their life. They allow random thoughts to control their mornings instead of intentionally programming their minds. Years ago, I made a simple decision. I would never start my day by accident. I would start it on purpose. So every morning, before I get out of bed, before I look at my phone, before I allow the outside world into my mind, I say something to myself that immediately shifts my psychology. I say this, today is going to be a great day. Now I know that might sound simple, but simple ideas applied consistently create extraordinary results. When I say those words, I'm doing something very specific. I'm instructing my brain to look for reasons why today is going to be great. I'm setting the emotional tone of the entire day. Because once your emotions are set, your behavior follows. Let me tell you something I learned after decades of studying successful people. Highly successful individuals do not leave their mental state to chance. They deliberately create it. They condition their mind the same way athletes condition their body. And the morning is the most powerful time to do this. Because when you first wake up, your mind is in a highly suggestible state. Your subconscious is open. It is listening. It is waiting for instructions. Most people unknowingly fill this moment with negative programming, news headlines, social media comparisons, emails full of problems. And then they wonder why they feel overwhelmed before the day even begins. But imagine doing the opposite. Imagine waking up and saying to your mind, today I will grow. Today I will learn. Today I will move closer to my goals. Suddenly the day becomes a mission instead of a burden. Let me share something personal with you. There were times earlier in my life when things were not going well. Financial pressure, uncertainty, difficult decisions. And during those periods, it would have been very easy to wake up every morning feeling defeated. But I discovered something powerful. Your mind believes whatever you repeat to it consistently. So even when circumstances were difficult, I refused to program my mind with defeat. Instead, I told myself, something wonderful is going to happen today. And something remarkable began to happen. My brain started looking for opportunities. I noticed ideas I had previously ignored. I saw possibilities where I used to see problems. And that is one of the most important lessons I can give you. Your external life often reflects your internal dialogue. Change the conversation inside your mind, and you begin to change the direction of your life. Now here's another powerful sentence I say to myself in the morning. I am responsible for how today unfolds. This single idea gives you back control. Because when you accept responsibility for your day, you stop waiting for perfect conditions. You start creating them. You begin asking better questions. What is the most valuable thing I can do today? What action will move my life forward? What opportunity might exist inside today's challenges? Successful people are question askers. Unsuccessful people are excuse makers. The difference begins in the mind, and it begins in the morning. Another thought I always plant in my mind is this: today I will focus on progress, not perfection. Perfectionism destroys productivity. It makes people quisitate. It makes them overthink. But progress creates momentum, and momentum creates confidence. So when I wake up, I remind myself that my job today is not to be perfect. My job is to move forward. Just one step, one improvement, one decision, one action that brings me closer to my goals. Because success is not created in giant leaps. It is created in daily disciplines. Small actions repeated again and again until they become habits. And habits shape destiny. Now let me ask you something important. How different would your life feel if every morning you started your day with intention instead of reaction? Think about that for a moment. How would your attitude change? How would your productivity change? How would your confidence change? Because here's the truth most people never realize. You don't experience life. You experience the thoughts you have about life. Two people can live through the exact same day and experience completely different realities. One sees frustration. Other sees opportunity. One sees obstacles. The other sees challenges to overcome. The difference is not the day. The difference is the mind. And the mind can be trained. But it begins with the words you speak to yourself. Your self-talk is the most powerful form of programming you will ever experience. You hear your own voice more than anyone else's. And if that voice is filled with doubt, hesitation, and worry, it becomes very difficult to build a confident life. But if that voice becomes encouraging, determined, and optimistic, everything begins to change. You begin to act differently. You begin to take more initiative. You begin to see possibilities that others completely miss. And that is why the first conversation of the day, the one you have with your own mind, is so incredibly important. Because that conversation sets the emotional and mental trajectory for everything that follows. So tomorrow morning, before anything else happens, before the day begins pulling you in different directions, pause for a moment, take a deep breath, and say something powerful to your mind, something intentional, something that programs your brain for strength, growth, and success. Because the quality of your day is rarely determined by circumstances. It is determined by your mindset. And in the next part, I'm going to share several specific sentences you can say to your mind every morning that will literally rewire the way you approach your entire day. These are simple, but extremely powerful when practiced consistently. And once you begin using them, you will notice something remarkable. Your days will start to feel different. Your energy will change. Your focus will sharpen. And the way you respond to challenges will transform completely. But before we continue, I want to hear from you. Do you currently have a morning mindset routine? Or do you usually start your day reacting to whatever appears first? Let me continue by sharing something that changed the way I approach every single day of my life. Most people wake up and immediately focus on what they have to do. But highly successful people focus first on who they choose to be. That difference is enormous. Because when you decide who you are going to be, your actions automatically begin to align with that identity. So the next sentence I tell my mind every morning is simple, but extremely powerful. I am a disciplined and focused person. Now notice something important here. I don't say I hope to be disciplined. I don't say I wish I were more focused. I say I am. Your brain listens very carefully to identity statements. When you repeatedly tell yourself who you are, your subconscious mind begins working to make that statement true. This is why negative identity statements are so dangerous. If someone wakes up every day thinking, I'm always late, I'm terrible with money, I'm not motivated, their brain begins collecting evidence to support that belief. And soon it becomes self-fulfilling prophecy. But when you reverse the process, something incredible happens. If you consistently say, I am disciplined, I am productive, I am focused on my goals, your mind begins adjusting your behavior to match those identities. Your brain literally begins looking for ways to prove you right. Now here is another sentence I say to myself every morning that dramatically improves productivity. Today I will focus on what truly matters. This is critical because modern life is filled with distractions. Emails, notifications, messages, news, social media. And if you are not careful, you can spend an entire day being busy without actually moving your life forward. One of the most important success principles I have ever learned is this: not all tasks are equal. Some activities create massive results. Others create almost none. Yet most people treat everything as equally important. That is a huge mistake. Successful people learn to focus their attention on the few activities that make the biggest difference. So when I wake up, I remind myself that today is not about doing everything. It's about doing the right things. Just a few high-value actions can transform your entire day. Another thought I deliberately program into my mind each morning is this: I will bring energy and enthusiasm to everything I do. Now let me explain why this matters so much. Your emotional state is contagious. When you bring enthusiasm into a room, people feel it. When you approach your work with energy, opportunities start appearing. Enthusiasm is not just an emotion. It's a competitive advantage. Employers notice it. Clients notice it. Colleagues notice it. And most importantly, your own brain notices it. Because when you act enthusiastic, your brain releases chemicals that increase motivation and creativity. So even if you don't feel enthusiastic at first, simply deciding to act with energy can completely change your experience. Remember this principle: emotion often follows action. You don't wait to feel motivated. You start moving and motivation catches up with you. Now here is another powerful sentence that I believe everyone should say to themselves every morning. Today, I will look for opportunities inside every challenge. This one sentence can transform the way you experience problems, because challenges are inevitable. They are part of life. They are part of business. They are part of growth. But successful people develop a habit that separates them from everyone else. They automatically ask, what can I learn from this? What opportunity might exist here? What is the advantage hidden inside this situation? You see, every difficulty carries with it the seed of an equal or greater opportunity. But most people never see it because they are too busy complaining. The mind can only focus on one dominant thought at a time. So if you focus on frustration, you miss the opportunity. But if you train your mind to look for possibilities, brain begins searching for solutions. And this mental habit becomes incredibly valuable over time, because people who solve problems become leaders. People who avoid problems remain stuck. Another sentence I strongly recommend saying every morning is this: I am grateful for this day. Gratitude is one of the most powerful psychological forces available to you. When you focus on what you are grateful for, your mind shifts out of scarcity and into abundance. Instead of thinking about what is missing, you begin noticing what already exists: your health, your skills, your experiences, the people in your life, the opportunities in front of you. Gratitude instantly changes your emotional state. And when your emotional state improves, your performance improves. It becomes easier to think clearly. It becomes easier to make decisions. It becomes easier to stay calm when things don't go perfectly. And that leads to better results throughout the day. Let me give you another sentence that I personally find extremely powerful. Today I will take action toward my biggest goals. Now this is where transformation really begins, because many people have goals, but very few people move toward them consistently. They wait for the right time. They wait for more confidence. They wait for perfect circumstances. And while they are waiting, weeks turn into months, and months turn into years. But progress does not require perfect conditions. It requires consistent action. Even a small step every day compounds into extraordinary results over time. One phone call, one page written, one skill practiced, one idea developed. When you repeat this day after day, momentum begins building. And momentum is powerful. Once you gain momentum, taking action becomes easier and easier. Now I want you to imagine something. Imagine waking up every morning and saying these sentences to yourself. Today will be a great day. I am disciplined and focused. I will focus on what truly matters. I bring energy and enthusiasm to everything I do. I look for opportunities inside challenges. I am grateful for this day. I take action toward my biggest goals. Just imagine what that would do to your mindset before the day even begins. Instead of feeling overwhelmed, you would feel prepared. Instead of reacting to circumstances, you would start directing them. Instead of drifting through the day, you would move through it with purpose. And when you repeat this process daily, something powerful begins to happen. Your identity changes. You stop seeing yourself as someone who is trying to improve. You start seeing yourself as someone who is improving every day. And that shift in identity changes everything. Because once your mind accepts a new identity, it begins adjusting your behavior automatically. You start making better decisions. You start using your time more wisely. You start treating opportunities differently. And over time, the results begin to show. But there is one more powerful element that takes this morning practice to an entirely new level, and that is visualization. In the next part, I'm going to show you how to combine the words you say to your mind with a simple mental technique that elite performers use to dramatically increase confidence, focus, and daily productivity. This technique has been used by athletes, entrepreneurs, and high achievers all over the world. And when you combine it with the morning mindset you've just learned, it becomes incredibly powerful. But before we move on, I want you to participate. Out of all the sentences we talked about, which one do you think would change your mornings the most? Write that sentence in the comments below. Because the moment you write it, you begin committing it to your mind. Now let me show you how to take everything we've talked about and turn it into something even more powerful. Because words alone can change your mindset, but when you combine words with mental pictures, the effect multiplies dramatically. Your brain thinks in images. In fact, psychologists have discovered that the subconscious mind responds more strongly to pictures than to language. That means when you visualize something clearly in your mind, your brain begins to treat that picture as if it were already possible. Sometimes even as if it were already happening. And this is why visualization is one of the most powerful tools used by high performers around the world. Athletes use it. Top sales professionals use it. Entrepreneurs use it. And I have used it for decades. So here is what I do every morning, and I strongly encourage you to try this. After I say those powerful sentences to my mind, I take a moment and see my day going well. I imagine myself moving through the day with confidence. I see myself focused on important tasks. I picture conversations going smoothly. I imagine solving problems calmly and effectively. And something remarkable happens when you do this. Your brain begins preparing for success. Instead of entering the day uncertain and reactive, you begin the day mentally rehearsed and confident. Because the mind does not clearly distinguish between vividly imagined experiences and real ones. So when you mentally rehearse success, your brain builds familiarity with that success. And familiarity creates confidence. This is exactly what elite athletes do before competitions. They visualize the race. They visualize the swing. They visualize the shot over and over again. By the time the real moment arrives, their mind already believes they can perform. And you can apply the exact same principle to your daily life. Before the day begins, see yourself handling it well. See yourself calm in difficult moments. See yourself productive and focused. See yourself making progress toward your goals. Because the images you hold in your mind become blueprints for your behavior. Now here is another powerful idea I want you to remember. Your morning mindset doesn't just affect how you feel. It affects what you notice. Earlier we talked about the reticular activating system, the part of your brain that filters information. Well, when you combine positive self-talk with visualization, you are giving this system a very clear instruction. You are telling your brain, look for opportunities, look for solutions, look for ways to move forward. And suddenly, things that once went unnoticed start appearing. Ideas, connections, chances to take action, moments where you can make progress. Many people call this luck. But in reality, it's trained awareness. Your brain is simply seeing things it used to ignore. And the more you train your mind in the morning, the more powerful this effect becomes. Now let me tell you something extremely important. This routine does not take an hour. It doesn't require complicated techniques. In fact, you can do this entire process in 3 minutes. 3 minutes that can completely change the trajectory of your day. Just think about that. 3 minutes of intentional thinking before the day begins. 3 minutes of programming your mind instead of letting the world program it for you. 3 minutes of reminding yourself who you are and what you are capable of. Most people spend more time scrolling their phone in the morning than they spend directing their own mindset. And that's one of the reasons so many people feel like they are constantly reacting to life instead of leading it. But when you take control of your morning thoughts, something shifts. You begin moving through the day with greater clarity. You feel more focused. Your decisions become more intentional. And over time, these small mental adjustments begin producing very real results. Your productivity improves, your confidence grows, your resilience strengthens, and gradually you become the kind of person who approaches life with purpose instead of hesitation. Now let me share one more sentence that I believe is incredibly powerful to say to your mind when you wake up. I am becoming the best version of myself. Notice the wording. Not I will become someday. Not I hope to become, but I am becoming. This phrase reminds your mind that growth is already happening. Every day you are learning. Every day you are gaining experience. Every day you are improving in ways you may not even notice yet. Success is not a single moment. It is a process. A continuous process of becoming stronger, wiser, more capable, and more focused. And when you remind yourself of that each morning, you remove the pressure of perfection. You focus instead on progress. You focus on showing up. You focus on doing the next right thing. And that mindset creates long-term success. Because the people who achieve extraordinary results are rarely the most talented. They are the most consistent. They show up day after day. They train their mind day after day. They move forward step by step. And eventually that consistency compounds into remarkable achievements. Now imagine something with me for a moment. Imagine doing this every morning for the next 30 days. Waking up, taking a deep breath, and telling your mind, today will be a great day. I am disciplined and focused. I will focus on what truly matters. I bring energy and enthusiasm to everything I do. I look for opportunities inside challenges. I am grateful for this day. I take action toward my biggest goals. I am becoming the best version of myself. Then you take a moment and visualize your day going well. Just imagine the difference that would make in your mindset. Imagine the difference in your productivity. Imagine the difference in your confidence. Because the truth is simple. Your life is shaped by your daily habits, and your days are shaped by your thoughts. Change the way you start your morning, and you begin changing the direction of your life. Not overnight, but steadily, consistently, powerfully. So tomorrow morning, before the noise of the world begins, remember this: your mind is listening. Your mind is ready. Your mind is waiting for instructions. Give it the right ones. And watch how your days and eventually your life begin to change. Now I'd love to hear from you. Starting tomorrow, are you willing to try this morning mindset routine for the next 7 days? If you are, write "I'm starting tomorrow" in the comments. Making that commitment publicly can be the first step toward creating a completely different kind of day every day.